Hello, and thanks for tuning in to Powell Software's Welcome to the New Normal video podcast. Powell Software develops digital workplace solutions that improve the employee experience, helping companies write their own future of work. My name is Tony Todd. I'm from Remedies in Paris, and in this series, we speak with business leaders, thinkers, academics to explore megatrends, ecosystems, technology, and thinking that are shaping the way we live and the way we work as the economy recovers and hopefully as we go into a successful new normal. I'm joined today by Lotta Harju. Hello, Lotta.
Hello, Tony.
Lotta is an assistant professor at the Emlyon Business School, and she also has the rare distinction of being one of the world experts on the phenomena of burnout and also Boreout. Now, what is Boreout, you may be asking yourselves? Well, that's why we have Lotta with us today, who is going to tell us all about it. So can you just tell us, Lotta, just to introduce burnout? We've all heard about burnout. What is the difference between burnout and Boreout, and why are these two phenomena so important for businesses to get a handle on?
Well, Tony, if I start with Boreout, first, everyone knows what boredom is, and everyone has surely been bored at work. At least sometimes, you know, we might have to engage in a not so interesting task and might not enjoy it very much, so it's difficult to maintain attention, okay? So Boreout is when this kind of situation, this boredom is persistent. So we can call it a state of chronic boredom in a sense, in the context of work. And how this is different from burnout is that whereas burnout describes a process in which employees have so much work strain, they have excessive job demands respective to the resources that they have, that they exhaust themselves over time, and that's how burnout develops. So Boreout is a different type of condition because it evolves from lacking enjoyable or meaningful stimuli. So it can be lacking challenges or just lacking possibilities to engage in meaningful work. So there is this difference in how these states evolve and the conditions from which they arise. But otherwise, both describe a state of employee ill-being, essentially.
Why should companies be paying attention to this phenomenon of Boreout?
Well, for the same reason why companies should be paying attention to employee well-being in general. When people are motivated, when they're interested in what they're doing, they are more committed, they put in more effort in their work. They produce better quality work, they are more productive.
Is there a challenge that Boreout might not be noticed by managers? They might not notice when their people are suffering from this?
There is that challenge indeed, Tony. Boredom and Boreout, they are very much a taboo at workplaces. And even if employees were to acknowledge to themselves that they are bored out, they will certainly not admit it publicly at their workplace.
No one wants to say, I'm not doing very much at work. Everyone wants to pretend, okay, I'm really busy, because they don't want to lose their jobs.
That can be one reason. Also, if the reason for why employees bore out is that the work feels meaningless to them, they will not go out and say that they are bored out, because that might just end up them having more of that meaningless work. I mean, all this comes down to boredom not being really well understood at workplaces, and it's not really well understood why people bore out.
Okay, so we need to explore how managers can spot it and also what they should be doing about it. So what are the early signs? What should a manager or a company leader, a business leader, what should they be looking out for as signs that their employees are bored?
Well, overall, I mean, if employees seem like they are not very motivated, they are disengaging a little bit, and you can, if you observe, you can see this decline on motivation, performance. Although, I mean, it can also be that if someone is too good at their jobs, essentially, so that their capacity exceeds the demands of the task, and this is why they are bored, then it might be actually harder to spot, because these kinds of employees, they keep performing to the standard or above standard because the work is so easy, it's too easy for them. And in these kinds of situations, it's hard to spot because managers are happy with the output of the employee, even though employees don't have to do much for that output.
What should companies be doing once they've recognized, once they've said, okay, so we've got a problem with our employees getting bored? What are the steps that they should take to resolve the situation? I mean, if they can't change the function of the job to make the job more interesting or challenging, what are the steps that they can do to improve their employees' well-being by making them less bored? What can they do?
Well, I always say that it's better to actually act preventively than just react to the harm that has already been done, because it's much easier and cost-effective to prevent employees from becoming bored or burned out than actually deal with the outcomes of that situation. But however, here what we need to look at again is that why employees become bored, and we can sum up sort of the phenomena in a poor organization of work. So either there is too little work for some employees, maybe too much work for others, but too little for some employees, or the tasks do not match the capabilities of the employee. So there is a mismatch of skills and demands of the task, or the meaning of the work is just not clearly communicated. So overall, it boils down to poor organization, poor leadership, or poor management of jobs in some cases. So again, first it needs to be acknowledged what it is that drives boredom in different kinds of organizations, and then try to look into what could be done. There are some steps that can be taken. I mean, sometimes it might be a possibility to bring some, if employees, for example, have some special skills they would like to use in their jobs, or maybe their work roles could be expanded, maybe something could be added or included, if that's the sort of the reason for why employees are bored.
Does a lot of this not revolve around employees' images of themselves, the amount of autonomy that they're given in their job? If employees are given more autonomy and more power to make decisions for themselves, is that important, or is it also giving them a more social environment? You know, if it is a telemarketing job, you can't do much about giving them more autonomy, but maybe giving them more of a social life, making the workplace a more agreeable place. It boils down to well-being. So, I mean, is it about giving more autonomy, or is it about improving the environment? What other concrete steps can employers do?
There was this study published quite time ago already, where Adam Grant studied employees who were involved in this kind of telemarketing or fundraising through phones, and he observed that when these employees were allowed to actually know the recipients of their work. So in this case, the people who benefited from their work, that added, or that made the job more meaningful for them. So in some cases, it could be possible to clarify the purpose of why people are doing what they're doing, because indeed it's a major driver of boredom, that people, they would like to be doing something that's purposeful or important, but it's really, it doesn't feel like that to them.
Okay. Is there anything that technology can contribute to resolving Boreout? I mean, we're seeing new collaboration tools that are developing and evolving rapidly, and that are being increasingly used by companies big and small. But does technology, do you think, have a role in making, in overcoming the challenge of Boreout and perhaps burnout as well?
Well, this we have been waiting for a long time. It was already in the 30s when John Maynard Keynes predicted that technological progress will make the world of work a better place, because it will free up time for us to focus on our interests and create things and make work more interesting. But that really hasn't turned out that way. It hasn't happened. What has instead happened is that while, yes, automatization and AI, they have made some jobs safer, better. Definitely there has been many improvements. Many of the sort of dreary jobs of the olden times, they have been made redundant. But what we have seen at the same time is that these technologies, they are used to bring more routine tasks to these white-collar jobs, and there are lots of technological control that's inflicted through these technologies, and that sort of narrows down the scope of discretion
So what you're saying is that technology might even be exacerbating the problem for white-collar jobs? Yeah, definitely.
It has, in many ways, brought more routines, boring routines to white-collar jobs, and sort of impoverished the jobs in a way that there's more and more aspects that relate to use of technology that people find quite boring.
Lotta Harju, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tony. It was a pleasure.
It was a great pleasure for me too. It was a really interesting conversation about burnout and bore-out at work. If you've been affected by burnout or bore-out, if you want to contribute to the conversation, do make a comment or follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter. You can make your comments underneath the YouTube video as well. We'd really like to hear your feedback. I'm sure Lotta would welcome your feedback as well. Stay tuned for our next episode coming up in the next couple of weeks. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you next time.